Before you scroll away, imagine this: a crowded restaurant where a quiet man in a simple coat is treated like he doesn't belong, until one sentence, spoken in Japanese by a tired waitress, stops the entire room cold. If stories that move your heart and restore your faith in people matter to you, stay until the end, and if this kind of storytelling speaks to you, remember to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. No one noticed Kenji Sato when he stepped inside the restaurant on a rainy Thursday night. The neon sign outside flickered like it was undecided about staying on, and the smell of fried food and burned coffee hung heavy in the air. Kenji paused just inside the door, water dripping from the edge of his coat, his umbrella folded neatly under his arm. He took in the room the way he always did, quietly, observantly, without asking to be seen. Conversations continued. Laughter spilled from a corner booth. A man snapped his fingers at a server. Kenji waited to be acknowledged, but no one looked his way. He was used to this. In boardrooms across Tokyo, Singapore, and New York, people leaned forward when he spoke, pens poised, eyes sharp with attention. But outside those glass towers, without the tailored suit or the reputation that preceded him, he was just another middle-aged man with tired eyes and a soft voice. Tonight, he had chosen to be invisible on purpose. After months of relentless decisions, endless numbers, and the weight of thousands of employees depending on him, he wanted one thing: quiet. He finally took a seat at the counter when no server came. The vinyl stool squeaked in protest. A menu was slapped down in front of him without a word by a passing waiter who didn't slow his pace. Kenji didn't mind. He traced the edge of the menu with his finger, translating the unfamiliar words in his head. He spoke fluent English, but there was comfort in translating, in slowing things down. Behind the counter, Anna wiped down glasses with a rag that had seen better days. Her shift had started at noon and was supposed to end 2 hours ago, but someone had called in sick. Her feet ached, her head throbbed, and tips had been thin. She noticed the man at the counter immediately, not because he demanded attention, but because he didn't. He sat straight, hands folded, waiting patiently, as if time wasn't something he needed to fight for. When Anna approached, another customer cut in, complaining loudly about cold fries. She apologized, fixed the problem, and by the time she turned back, another server had taken Kenji's order without even looking at him. "Burger, black coffee," the server muttered, already moving away. Kenji nodded politely, though he hadn't been asked if that was what he wanted. As minutes stretched on, the restaurant grew louder. A group of young professionals laughed over cocktails. A couple argued in hushed tones. Kenji's coffee arrived cold, sloshed into the cup carelessly. He thanked the server anyway. The burger came next, overcooked and sloppy. He didn't send it back. Hunger wasn't the point of this evening. Anna watched all of this from behind the counter, a quiet unease settling in her chest. She didn't know why it bothered her. Maybe it was the way he bowed his head slightly every time someone spoke to him, even when they were rude. Maybe it was the calm in his eyes that seemed out of place in a room full of impatience. When she finally had a moment, she poured a fresh cup of coffee and carried it to him. "I'm sorry about the wait," she said, setting the cup down gently. He looked up, surprised, then smiled. "Thank you," he replied. Without thinking, without planning to do something brave, Anna added softly, in Japanese, "Omates shimashita." "Taihen deshita ne. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. It must have been difficult." Kenji froze. For a heartbeat, the noise of the restaurant faded. He looked at her as if she had reached across a great distance and touched something fragile. Slowly, he answered in Japanese, his voice warm but controlled. "Daijobu dezu. Anata ga ki ni kaket kareta dekta, juben dezu." It's all right. Just knowing you cared is enough. Anna blinked. She hadn't spoken Japanese aloud in years. Her grandmother had taught her when she was a child, insisting that language was a bridge, not a tool. Anna had forgotten most of it, but some phrases lived deep in her memory. She hadn't expected a reply, certainly not one so fluent. Their exchange didn't go unnoticed. The man beside Kenji stared. Someone laughed nervously. The server who had taken Kenji's order paused, suddenly aware of the tone he had used earlier. "You speak Japanese?" Anna asked, switching back to English. Kenji nodded. "It's my first language." Something shifted then. It was subtle, but real. People began to look at Kenji differently, as if language itself had given him shape. A man at a nearby table leaned over. "Hey, that's pretty cool," he said. "Where are you from?" "Tokyo," Kenji answered simply. And you're here for business? The man pressed. Kenji smiled politely. Something like that. Anna felt a strange protectiveness rise in her. She didn't know why it mattered, but she didn't want this man turned into a curiosity or a target for shallow admiration. She refilled his water, asked if he needed anything else, and for the first time that night, Kenji ordered what he actually wanted. As the evening wore on, the restaurant manager emerged from the back, alerted by whispers of a Japanese guest speaking fluently. He approached with exaggerated friendliness, apologizing profusely for the service. Kenji listened, nodded, and thanked him, never once mentioning the cold coffee or the careless order. When the check came, Kenji paid quietly. He left a tip so generous that Anna thought there must have been a mistake. She hurried after him as he stood to leave. "Sir," she said, holding the receipt. "This is too much." Kenji shook his head. "No, it's exactly right." At the door, he paused. "May I ask you something?" "Of course. Why did you speak to me in Japanese?" Anna hesitated, then answered honestly. "Because you looked like someone who was far from home. And my grandmother always said, when you don't know how to help someone, start by speaking to their heart." Kenji bowed, deeper this time. "Your grandmother was wise." The next morning, the restaurant owner received a call that changed everything. A major investment group wanted to meet. They were interested in revitalizing local businesses, starting with struggling restaurants that showed heart. The name on the proposal was Kenji Sato. Within weeks, the restaurant was renovated, wages were raised, and staff received training and benefits they had never imagined. But Kenji never returned to be praised. He sent a letter instead, addressed simply to the waitress who spoke to me. Anna read it during her break, hands shaking. In it, Kenji wrote about how lonely success could be, how easy it was to become unseen when you removed the symbols of power. He thanked her not for recognizing who he was, but for recognizing that he was human. Years later, Anna would manage the restaurant herself. She would greet every customer the same way, whether they wore expensive suits or worn-out coats. And sometimes, when she saw someone sitting quietly, waiting too long to be noticed, she would remember that night, and how one simple sentence, spoken with kindness, can change the course of many lives. So if this story reminded you that compassion still matters, that dignity doesn't need an audience, and that you never know who someone truly is until you treat them with respect, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be shared, because the world changes not when everyone looks, but when someone finally sees.